Good morning and welcome once again to our Sunday Sunrise Project call, where it's always a safe space filled with love and compassion and our mutual desire to heal ourselves and our families. I'm so honored to be here with all of you this morning. And once again, I'll start with the serenity prayer, as I always do. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And this morning, I am delighted to have with us an incredible woman. Her name is Diane Haskell, and she is a dynamic, multi-passionate mom who has dedicated the last 25 years of her life to being an educator and loving mom to her young adult son. She's been a teacher, a school administrator, principal, college professor, career counselor, homeschool teacher, coach, and therapist. Diane taught leadership development to young scholars during a summer program at Temple University, which was the fulfillment of a dream, having been born and raised in Philly. Armed with life experiences, a bachelor's degree in leadership management, and a master's degree in education with a specialization in instruction and curriculum design, Diane has quickly become a sought after expert in working with students who have learning disabilities, emotional disorders, and autism. Fiercely committed to advocating for autistic children and their families, she is currently an Earl Intervention Specialist, and that's in quotes, working with clients in Philadelphia and Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. She loves bringing hope, encouragement, and strategies of success to those in the world of autism. She says, and I quote, "This is my sweet spot for sure." I love that. Diane has been a member of various boards, a voice for the underserved and poverty stricken communities in Philadelphia, which has broadened her impact in the area of education. Her goal has always been to ensure quality education for all children, starting with her own, who she homeschooled from 7th to 12th grade, which I just think is incredible. Bravo for all of that. That's amazing. So we are excited to have you here with us this morning, Diane. Thank you for being here. And I
Thank
look forward
you.
to hearing about your story, your passion, your expertise, and all that you do in the world of autism. So welcome. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I would love to start with just having you share your journey as a mom and
Okay.
how you became an autism advocate.
Awesome. So I will tell you that just being a veteran educator and working in education, I
Mhm.
really um, just have always enjoyed the process. You know, being a mother is my favorite gift. I always say my favorite gift from God.
Yes.
And and my son, in terms of just um, he's amazing. He's so gifted. He's multi-gifted as well. And I
Hmm.
knew that there were some things I needed to do with him to basically maximize his academic experience. And just from working in education, I realized that I had the tools to be able to school him. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but
Hmm.
we dove right in, jumped right in, and it was the best experience, as I shared with you earlier, that I could have ever had, and the best decision I could have ever made to do that for him. And um, I
Can you
would.
share, first of all, when did you know or when did you find out that he was autistic? And number one, and then number two, how did you decide to homeschool?
So my son is actually not autistic, but
Oh.
he did come into what he, the issue for him was
Hmm.
really him being in an atmosphere where he was being bullied by other children, and he was really being bullied for being smart. And so with that, I really knew that I needed to make a decision to take him out of that environment in order for him to have a good academic experience. And that really began in 7th grade when he came to me, was coming home. Children had locked him out of the school. One day was pushed down the steps, all of the things. And I thought, I'm not going to risk losing my child. And
Hmm.
also, I could see highlights of potential depression setting in. And I thought, this is too much for someone so young to have to carry.
Mhm.
And if I could make a decision to change that, then I needed to do that as his mom.
Mhm.
We are
Mhm.
protective. We are mama bears. And so I definitely, that's what really led me to make the decision to homeschool him.
I love that. And
Yeah.
can you share, what are some of those signs, or what are beyond the bullying, or beyond the fact that in your case, it sounds like your son told you what was happening, which is
Yeah.
a wonderful
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Many of us have children that have very few words
Yes.
sometimes, and they
Yes.
don't necessarily share. They might go in their room and close the door, and
Right.
there might be all kinds of things happening. So, what are some of those red flags that might indicate a learning disability or any sort of emotional
Yeah.
disorder that
Yeah.
goes beyond the normal kids being kids?
Yes, yes. So you start watching for with the withdrawal,
Mm,
not wanting to be around people. You start watching meal times. You start watching those moments when we may have said, "Oh, they're just a little bit aloof," but that aloof, is it that they're deep in thought or just really disconnected?
mhm,
And I think as
mhm,
parents, you can just kind of feel some things. You can feel that energy. When you pick your child up or if your child's coming home on the bus from school, there's no stories. How was school today? Okay, it was all right.
mhm.
That those type
But
of
isn't that normal child behavior? That's the thing. I mean, most kids and young adults,
mhm.
especially with their parents, it seems like their one-word answers are the norm.
Right. And especially today. But I am so as we said, my son
Hmm.
is an adult now. So we're talking 20,
Yes.
he's 25 years old now. But at that time, there were the distractions of so much social media as there is now. And so my
Hmm.
son in our household, we communication is our gift. And that was something that I
Mm,
knew was a regular for us. So I think the biggest
hmm.
thing for parents is to recognize when things become abnormal and when the behavior
That's it.
becomes
Okay.
abnormal. Yeah,
Right. Or it could be different friends are being introduced that you're like, wait, what's
absolutely.
happening? So anything that's abnormal from what is normal for
Yes,
your household. And I think
yes,
that's absolutely the case. So,
yes.
what since you are such an incredible educator, and you've been in this space for so long, for many years, 20 something years or more,
Mhm.
what is one of the most common misconceptions about early intervention? Because I know you do specialize in
Yes,
autism.
I
So,
bet.
what are one of the misconceptions, or what are some of the misconceptions about early intervention for autistic children specifically?
Yes, one of the misconceptions is um, they're just late bloomers.
Mm,
I can't tell you how many families that I have provided service to, and I'll go in, and especially if there's a grandparent in the home, there's nothing wrong with him. I spoke late,
mhm.
in life late too, or he's just bad, he's just high energy, or she just doesn't feel
Mhm,
like talking. And there are
mhm,
certain things within that eye contact, sensory
mm,
profiles that need to be done. Sometimes their food aversions their aversion to different textures. You can kind of see that.
mhm.
You can see when they're in rooms and if there's something that just triggers them because of the sound, the noise.
Yes.
All of those things become a factor. As we were talking about earlier, outward behavior, those physical exertions that we just kind of dismiss because we think, oh, they're just being kids. When reality is
Mhm.
there's something else there, there's a little bit more there. Eye contact, like I said, is it fleeting? Are they able to engage? Are they able to cognitively process what's being said to them? And when your
Mhm.
child is hearing you and you know when your child is ignoring you. And so just not
Right.
passing it off like, oh, they hear me, but they're not saying anything. The big thing for me, Kelly, when I started
Mhm,
doing this work that really got me, I'm a PK, grew up as a church baby. And
mhm.
one of the things that really began to just hurt my heart
Never
was,
heard that, by the way, a PK, a preacher's kid. That's what that
yes,
means? Okay. I'm like, "What is a PK?"
I'm a
Okay. I
preacher's
love it.
kid. Yes,
Mhm.
and I'm actually a pastor myself. I don't pastor a church anymore, but I still work in ministry.
I love
And
it.
there's a whole lot with that that we can talk about too if you want to.
Yeah.
Because I was also in a very difficult marriage that I chose to leave. So that's
Hmm.
something within that, and within doing that, I still, with child in tow, just had to make sure that he was okay and that we were okay.
Hmm.
But going to this moment with church, I remember being in church, and people would even do this to me, but I've seen it done to other children, and they'll say, speak to so and so. You can't speak, you can't talk. And sometimes, just to think that this child may have been autistic, they couldn't speak, or
That's
they could
right.
have had social anxiety, all of those things. And there's trauma that had been inadvertently created in some children. And that became a scary thought to me. And so the passion began to just get deeper for me with this work, because I know firsthand and had witnessed this happening so many times, even in the community. You see people who would talk to little kids and say, "Hi, oh, she can't talk." And now we
Hmm.
think how insensitive could would
Hmm.
that be, but just those things, and really paying attention and just being more conscious to not be so oh yes, me too. Me too, D. I'm reading her. It really, really bothers me when people say that to children, is you can't speak, you can't say hello. So those would be some of the things that I see immediately. Playing with toys, playing alongside of children and not playing with them. There's no
That's right.
communication there. There's parallel play, but there's no interaction. And
Mm.
so there's a difference to that. They're playing alongside of a child. So there are some children they want to be near, but then there are also children who are very self-directed. They're just off to themselves, playing with the toy, maybe appropriately, maybe not appropriately. That those are also signs
I,
that let you know
boy,
we got to go
yeah,
deeper.
we have to go deeper and we have to be educated because I
Yes.
think about my youngest who is amazing. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
when he was in first grade, his teacher said, he never makes eye contact. And she
Mm,
said, I don't think he ever listens. And I said, oh no, trust
mm,
me, he's listening. And then
mm-hmm,
she said the next day or a couple days later, she said, I asked him about a lesson, he repeated the entire lesson verbatim.
mm-hmm,
So he
mm-hmm.
just doesn't make eye contact to this day.
Yes.
He's very quiet. He's a loner.
Mm-hmm.
He,
Right.
um, you know, he has great friends who
Yes.
tend to be on his swim team, and people
Yes.
he trusts, very small circle of friends, but doesn't necessarily make new friends. And that's
Mm-hmm.
his choice. And I
Mm-hmm.
look back and I think I was not educated on anything about
Mm-hmm.
spectrum disorders,
Right.
autism, Asperger's, none of it. And
Right.
to your point, as you were talking about, I just thought he was bad. I really did. I was like, why is he
Right.
banging his head up against the wall? Why is he enraged like this, screaming
Mm-hmm.
all the
Mm-hmm.
time?
Mm-hmm.
And tactile, I had to cut all the tags out of his clothes. He
Yes.
would never wear jeans, only soft, flannel
Right.
type, really soft clothes
Mm-hmm.
forever.
Mm-hmm.
And until like middle school, I think. And so I'm looking back, I wonder, if he had been tested or if people were more aware,
Right.
educated in this space,
Right.
it may have opened some different ahas and maybe some
Yes.
opportunities for different type of accommodations
Yes.
beyond the ADD or ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis, which
Yes.
is really powerful. Like I'm thinking about what you're saying and going, yep,
Mm-hmm.
check, check, check. Yes, yes, yes. That's him. And he's
Yes.
amazing and super smart, all those
Yes.
things, but just thinks differently and operates differently. And there's nothing wrong with that.
At
So
all.
that's really important, I think. And my question is it too late to have testing? Like, what if for a 20-year-old, 25-year-old, 58-year-old, I'm like, maybe I'm on the spectrum. I don't know. Might be. And that's okay too. I know I have anxiety and depression and
Right.
all
Right.
kinds of things that I'm not ashamed to talk about. And
Right.
it's
Me too.
okay. Yeah. So is
Mm-hmm.
it too late? And how do you go about, and if it's not, which I saw you shake your head, no, it's not too late. How would you
Never.
go about having that conversation with an adult child?
So, first and foremost, please, 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 and this is a statement that might be like a pinch, but my thing is that is the greatest demonstration, one of the greatest demonstrations of love that you can do is to have that hard conversation and just, with
Mhm.
ourselves first to say, okay, there's something here. And I believe that that mommy intuition, that mommy gut, as parents, we know the language that speaks to our children. And so
Mhm.
we unwrap that to them where, okay, you know what? You're learning a little different. There are some things that are going on that I'm seeing. And perhaps we can get some assistance and get different insight to help us to address these things in your
Mhm.
life. And I really, really
Yes.
feel very strongly about that. Please, please, please test, test, test. It doesn't matter what age. Believe it or not, so you think back in 2022, I think it was the statistic showed 1 in every 31 children are diagnosed with autism.
Yes.
Now it is exceptionally higher, right? Now they're talking about it's possibly 1 in 10. Now
Right.
think
Because
about
there's
that.
more, is that because there's more awareness and people are more cognizant? And so
And
they,
that's, yes,
mhm.
I believe that they're more cognizant. One of the things I'm passionate about, and when I'm invited to speak different places, I am pushing for teachers, every teacher to have some type of coursework and being able to recognize it because what they don't,
Yes.
they cannot address, right? And so sometimes it's not fair to really take teachers through the coal and really not know that they just don't have the wisdom, they don't have the knowledge to be able to cite these things. And I'm sure when you go into teaching, it is your goal. It's almost like this
Yes.
spoken oath that we take that we want to make sure, we want to assure that every child has the greatest experience that they can. In order to do that, then we must equip ourselves with everything that we can in order to provide that. So back to your question, yes, have the conversations, test the children. There's never ever an age that you can't do it. As adults, I have a friend that came to me. Um, she's 47 years old, and she was
Mhm.
just diagnosed with autism. But
Interesting.
guess what? She wasn't functioning right in her workplace. There were some things that were going wrong in her personal life. And she just knew that something was off. So at that age, of course, you kind of are
Mhm.
taking it upon yourself to do some discovery work. But now we're walking through that. And that is not a
Mhm.
bad journey. It's an enlightening one because now life can be
Love
more
it.
pleasant for her because she has an answer that will allow her now to cultivate and create other experiences in her life that will match her abilities, if that
I
makes sense.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's so funny that there's a gentleman on Love on the Spectrum. I love
Mm-hmm.
that show.
Yes, me
Loving on the
too.
Spectrum is one of my
Yes,
all-time favorites,
I love
and
it.
I binge watched, I think, all 3 seasons once recently. And that man, I think he's in his 60s maybe, but he was
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed, I feel like he said, like, within the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And now knows he needs certain things in his life, and he
Yes.
set up his life with that knowledge, and he's so much
Yes.
happier. So I
Yes.
think that's great. And Dr. Vicky says understanding makes a tremendous difference. That's
It
true.
does.
Understanding and
Yes.
knowing. And I think so many of us, especially in the Black community, we have not been equipped historically
Mm-mm.
with dealing with mental
Mm-hmm.
illness or emotional disorders or what have you. And so many of our
Yes.
parents, shunned away from talking about
Mm-hmm.
anything. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a different world now and it's a
It
blessing.
is.
So
It
I want to
is.
share this comment that says, my son is 28. I was diagnosed with level 1 autism 2 years ago. What a relief for him to understand why he felt and experienced some of the things the way he does. Finding resources to help him as an adult has been a challenge. So let's talk
Mm.
about that. Like how, I don't know if she wants to come off of mute or not, but how can people find resources to help as an adult?
Yes. And so my first suggestion is to start with your family doctor. Your family doctor should be a resource, especially when your child and again, adult child has a diagnosis. They should be a resource for you for
Mhm.
specific
Okay.
programs. And there are so many out here. And the reason I say start with your family doctor, because your family doctor would be able to best guide you on the needs for your child. Now, also the psychologist that did the testing, if there was one that was a part of that team, which most likely there are, they also can be a resource in your county. Make sure that in your county you are maximizing those moments to be able to have conversation with that psychologist, who's usually, each county usually has a team that does the testing. They usually have teams that are connected to community programs, daily programs. My goddaughter is in one, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how we found it for her. And I just really started creating a resource package for many people that I guide through this. Even though my specialization was once only with children, I just decided I needed to expand this, because this is something, again, that goes from, you know, young age to teenagers to adults. It's not something
Mm-hmm.
that you necessarily grow out of. And I want to come back to something that you said about our community. I am in the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going into
Mm-hmm.
homes, I'm going into daycares. So I see firsthand, in some instances, I'm going into schools. I see firsthand how this information is being processed, how it's being dealt with, and how it's being disseminated to others in leadership, but most importantly, our
Mm-hmm.
children, but the parents, right? I have
Mm-hmm.
often been a liaison to for the information to say, hey, listen, your child's been diagnosed. And that is so hard in the community, Kelli. It's more accepted now because I feel like it's talked about more now. Where
Yes.
in our community, it's the label. And I often have to tell families, this is not a death sentence. This is a life
Mm-hmm.
sentence. This is
Right.
life. This is you being committed to making sure that your loved one, your child, has the best life that they can
Yes.
have. And that labeling thing has kept us away from getting the services, getting access to programs, letting them have special treatment. And this is something that I like to
Yes.
say to parents. You're saying it's a label, but I look at it as special treatment.
I love
Your
it.
child's a VIP.
Yes.
There's nothing that is, that they cannot have, that allows them to have a wonderful experience throughout this life. So to that parent who is on here and talking about your adult child, please go to your family doctor. Please check into your the programs that your local hospital has. And I'd be more than willing to have further conversation with you about that too.
Mm-hmm. And even Easter seals, who we're doing some
Yes,
work for them, ironically, on for people with autism. We're building a
yes,
campaign about belonging. But Easter seals has chapters all over the country,
yes.
and they often provide incredible autism services, and
Mhm.
especially adult autism services as well.
Absolutely.
So Easter seals, I think, is also a great potential
Yes,
resource.
absolutely.
hmm I want to go
Absolutely.
back to something that you said, because many of us and people on this call, including me,
Okay.
have been through difficult situations. It could be
Okay.
with our children, or it could be with the partner or a spouse or what have
Yes.
you. And so you mentioned being in a difficult situation and you
Yes.
chose to leave. And I'd
Yes.
love to have you talk about that, because
Sure.
sometimes we as women feel stuck, or we feel like, we need to stay, even if it's not right. We need to stay because of the kids, or could be a
Yes.
myriad of reasons.
Yes.
Can you talk about, if you're willing, would love to hear
Sure.
your story
Oh,
and what
sure.
prompted you to choose to leave?
Absolutely. So I was in a difficult, very difficult marriage. And now within this marriage, I had a very, very good life. I didn't want for anything. Um, I,
hmm
and when I say that, I really, really mean that. I didn't want for anything, but I knew that there was enough that was happening within the marriage where I needed to not only leave for my safety, but for my sanity.
hmm
And so I went from having pretty much everything to having nothing. And I literally left and chose to just start my life over. Within that marriage, It was difficult from the aspect that when you have people who are not on the same page as you, when you have a spouse that's not on the same page, when there are always different levels of abuse that can happen, and you have to make a decision.
Hmm.
And my son, believe it, and this is really a kicker for you. I left on a, I don't know how real I can get here, Kelly. Are you?
You can get as real as you want. It's a safe space, and everybody on this call is here
Okay.
because we're all going through something.
Okay. So I will tell you. So I lived in a 9 bedroom mansion, walked away from it all.
Wow,
And
nine
a
bedrooms.
9 bedroom
Oh,
mansion had everything. And I will tell you that I left on a Sunday and found out I was pregnant with my husband's child on a Monday. And I never looked
wow,
back.
wow.
Mhm.
So you became a single mom
Yes.
immediately
Yes.
and never looked back because you
No.
chose your life. You said something
Yes.
so interesting. You said,
Yes.
I chose for my safety, which alludes
Absolutely.
to physical abuse, and my
Absolutely.
sanity, which alludes to
Absolutely.
mental abuse, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
I mean, it was the fact that I made it out of that. It was life or death situation. The fact that I'm where I am
Hmm.
today is a complete miracle. It's a
It's all
complete
divine. It's
miracle.
all God,
It
quite
was all
honestly.
God. It was all God.
Hmm.
And so I will tell people, we've heard this
Mm.
phrase so much, and I didn't know this. I lived
Hmm.
through this, where if it costs me my peace, it's too expensive. It
Mm.
was too expensive. There was so much that I was losing. And so I was
Yes.
losing myself. I was losing my mind. I was losing who I was. Um, and then
Mm.
when you're dealing with emotional trauma that's
Yes.
being put on you, it was a matter. And here's a phrase we hear also: I choose me. And that's what
Yes.
I choose me. Not, I just had to keep saying that to me. I choose me. I choose me. And then
Hmm.
one day I just woke up and said, you know what? I'm really choosing me. And I'm out. I'm out of here. No special phrases. I have to say, that's why I ask you, can I say it like I feel it?
Yes.
Because I just said, I'm out of here. And I realized that, and it was a long
Mhm.
driveway from the house to the car. And I kept, as on that walk, I said, I just believe you, God, that you will protect
Yes.
me. And that when I walked out of that door, that I believe that my joy began.
Ooh,
Mhm.
I have chills. Has I love that story. I
Yeah.
love the faith in God that you had.
Yes.
I love that you never looked back. And I love
Never.
that you made a choice because every single day we have an opportunity to make a choice
Mhm.
for who we're going to be and how we're going to show up in the world. And you
Yes.
chose your life and your son's
Yes.
life. And
Absolutely.
that's so beautiful.
Thank you so much for that because, and then I think within that, right, once we make the choice, then we also have to make a decision not to allow the pain of the experience to paralyze you. And that is
Mm.
where they win or the situation wins, if you will. And so I think we just have to understand that there's something else that we deserve that's so much greater that doesn't come from a person, but that we control, which is choosing joy.
Have a sweatshirt that says choose joy.
Mhm.
And I love the whole notion of choosing joy. We have the power to
Yes,
choose joy. And you
yes,
walking down that um that long, long
yes,
driveway and away from that
yes.
9 bedroom
Mhm.
mansion. And as you
Yes.
said, you did not want for anything. You
Mm-mm.
chose joy, you chose your life, and you said,
Mhm.
I'm done. And I do
Right.
think as women, when we finally get to that place, when we are done, we're done.
Mhm.
And it
Exactly.
sometimes takes a long time.
Yes.
But when we
Yes.
finally get to that place and say, I'm
Mhm.
worth more and I'm
Exactly.
worthy of a
Yes.
life that's positive and
Yes.
peaceful. And I
Yes.
love what you said. When I walked out the door, my joy began.
Yes. And I couldn't
And
explain that to people because Kelly, even pastors told me to stay.
Yes.
Pastors,
Oh,
I
I
went for
understand that.
counsel and I
Hmm.
was told to stay. You could live in another side of the house. And I just said, no, this is not. And mind you, I left with nothing, nothing. I left with nothing. So I literally had to rebuild from the ground up, but it felt so good. Why
Yes.
would you want to be attached to something that didn't serve you well? I didn't
I
want that.
feel every bit of that. And people who know me well, and a lot of people that know me well are on this phone. I walked away also with
Mhm.
nothing, left
Yes,
everything behind. Thing,
yes,
brought my
yes,
spirit, brought my soul, brought my
yes.
freedom, but left
Mhm.
the things. And I
Yes.
was like, I don't need the things.
No.
It's beautiful to start over fresh
Yes.
with no
Yes.
memory and
Mm-mm.
no attachment to
No.
things.
No.
It's a beautiful thing. And your statement,
No.
don't allow the pain of the situation to paralyze you. That's
Mm-mm.
incredible. I
No.
love it. And I think protecting your peace at all
Absolutely.
cost. Protecting
Absolutely.
our peace. Peace, love, and joy have been my words for the last few
Mm,
years.
love that.
Searching and really chasing peace, love,
Mm,
and joy authentically.
yes. Yes.
And it's been a journey that's very different than what I've been on up until the past, few years of really
Mhm.
working to have peace, peace,
Yes.
love, and joy. And I see that all over your
Mhm.
face.
Oh,
This
wow.
beautiful smile,
Thank
and you're
you.
peaceful and
Thank you.
happy and full of
Yes.
love and
Yes.
light. And it's beautiful to see. So
Thank
thank
you
you for
so
sharing
much.
that story. How long ago was that when you walked away?
So that was 20, well, I was pregnant with my son, he's 25.
25 years ago.
So 25, yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And
Amazing.
yes, and it's got and I think that because when you make a decision, it's not something that has to be a long process, right? And I think about the
Hmm.
work that I do now with autism and when
Hmm.
if anybody knows anything about autism, children who are diagnosed with autism, they're very sensitive and they can sense energy. And so I say to
Hmm.
myself, I would not have even thought the decision I made so long ago would set the tone for the work that I do now because I couldn't have carried all of that trying to do the work that I'm doing now and making the impact and providing hope and joy to families if I'm weighed down. And that's the
That's
thing
right.
to think about also is that your purpose cannot be subject to your decision not to have joy, not to have
That's
peace,
right.
right? We've got to be committed to our purpose. And so I think once we become, once we get in touch with that, it allows us to move in such freedom. And
Yes.
that is something that I treasure is the freedom to allow joy to come into my life, to allow peace
Yes.
to reside, reign, and to be there. I always tell people, when people say, rest in peace, I tell people I want to live in peace.
Hmm.
I want to live in peace.
I
And that's my
love that.
agenda daily. It's my daily agenda because it's so directly connected with the work that I do. I must have peace. I must have joy. I curate all of my
Yes.
relationships in my life like that because, again, I'm so dedicated to the work that I do. And my sweet spot, as you said earlier, that my spirit must be, it must be clear. Do things happen? Absolutely. But Kelly, I don't know what happened for me when I walked outside of the door that day. I just don't handle things the same. People
That's
don't
right.
get a rise out of me. They mistake my past, me thinking that I'm being passive for just a decision. I just decide not to engage very quickly.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And you put all of the negative energy out of your world,
Yeah.
and
You
you make
have to.
different choices to
Yes.
in the choice for peace. Your
Yes.
choice for peace overrules everything else. And so
Absolutely.
you walk in that journey. It's peace
Yes.
and joy. And I love that
Yes.
you also said you give families hope and you give
Yes.
people hope. Like so
Yes.
many people on this call today that may need
Yes.
exactly what you're saying to give people hope or
Yes.
the courage to walk away, perhaps, or
Yes.
the courage to say, I'm worth more than
Mhm.
this and I'm going to
Right.
start over with nothing. I love that you walked away with nothing.
Me
Because
too.
and someone just posted this really beautiful comment
Hmm.
about things, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
read it for someone
Okay.
that might be on the phone call. It says, "Yes, once you have done all the things, had all the things, experienced all the things, you finally realize you can live without the things. And what is
Yes.
really important beyond those things, it's not the
Absolutely.
things,
Not the
it's our
things.
spirit and our peace of
Not
mind."
absolutely. It's not the
Mhm.
things. It's not. And when we live in a world that is so driven by things, sometimes
Right,
I am
right.
so happy to be a part of the percentage that is driving the message that it's not about things,
It's not
and that
about the
there's,
things.
it really isn't. So I love that. Whoever said that, I love that. I am one
Yes.
with you.
Yes, Vida wrote that, or Veta. And I
Yes.
love my Howard sister, I believe. Thank you for that. So I want to make sure before we run out of time, because we could talk all
Yeah.
day, Diane, and I love
Oh,
everything that you've shared, but I want to make sure that if anybody has anything on their heart or wants to share or ask a question, given
yeah.
your amazing experience in this educational world, and especially
Yeah.
also with people with autism, that we allow time for that. So if people
Sure.
are on the phone, you can hit star 6 to come off of mute, or if you want to put a question in the chat, that's fine too. But we'd love to hear from you. And Diana's just a wealth of beautiful peace and
Oh.
wisdom this morning. And it's such a great reminder to choose to chase, I call it chasing joy, to
I
choose
love
joy
it.
and chase and
Yes.
choose peace. That
Yes.
is powerful. So anyone want to share, have a question, a
I have a
thought for?
question. This is
Yes,
Vicky. Hi,
hey,
Diane.
Dr.
Good
Vicky.
morning.
Hi.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Um, in light of what you shared, and thank you for your transparency and
Yeah.
vulnerability because it's really powerful
Yeah.
and inspiring. In
Thank
light
you.
of the way you left, right,
Hmm.
and finding out you were pregnant
Yes.
and your son now being 25 years old, can you share with us as a community of parents, mostly of young adult children, how you have cultivated such an open line of communication with your son? Because sometimes we are challenged with that dynamic here. That's why we're here supporting one another. And
Yes.
so, how did you come to build such an open line of communication with him? And
Hmm.
if and when there were challenges, how did you get past those? Can you share that? Because I think the example of what you're saying gives all of us hope, right?
Yes.
As parents of young adults. So, how
Yes.
did you build that knowing what you came from?
Yes, yes. And it's funny because you say knowing what I came from. So I came from a household where my father being a pastor, um, it was not always communication. It was more so my dad's was from the South. So, there was always this um, being told what to kind of think, being told how you feel. And he was only emulating the way he had been raised. So with my son, I made him the priority in terms of mom and son dates, if you will. We had specific times early on. We always had time. We would just take rides sometimes in the car where there was nothing else that could distract us, not even the radio on, and just talk and just listen. And I think it's important too, as parents, to be a listener, right? Because we can get in our minds the way that we may want our children to be, but when we take time to observe who they are, when we take time to observe the gift and the beauty of who they are, then we're able to nurture that gift. And early on, I began to have just conversations with my son, specific times every single day, at dinner time, just making sure that we sat down together. The TV's not on. There was nothing else that would distract me because I'm going back to when he was younger to now when he's older. And actually having that time now, it is a given. We come to the table or we'll sit in the living room and just talk. And how did that happen? Because I feel like I took the time to just set aside time just with he and I and made that a priority. It was just our time. and really coaching conversations. Now, when things have come up, believe me, he's 25. When things have come up, I've often thought, am I his first person to talk to? And I kind of like felt some kind of way sometimes about it. But when issues have come up that we've needed to talk through, I've always made sure that my son understood that I was his safe space, that it was safe, and that there was no judgment, and that he could say anything he wanted to me. And it wasn't about being right. And we live by this principle in our household that what makes you feel better may not be what's best for a situation. However, in the house, in our home, you can say whatever you want to say. You can express yourself, and giving him space to do that, and really letting him see that, okay, I understand that's the way you feel. And even if it's stuff that we don't want to hear as parents, but you still want to let them say it. You still want to know what's going on in their minds. And so I would say, Vicki, just taking that time, making your child the priority in life, and setting aside that time to be able to communicate with them, and building that communication by letting them feel safe, letting them feel comfortable, not making them feel like you're going to attack something that they're saying because they're not saying it correctly. Children don't want to hear that. I say that as a former teacher, and I say that as a parent. They don't want to feel like they're always being, oh, but I can't say it this way, and you need to say it that way. Just let them be. And in that, you get to cultivate something else in that relationship. And I believe that that really is what allowed my son and I to have the type of relationship that we do, because he knows that he can share now anything with me, and he has that safe space. And there are times now at 25 when he'll say, Mom, can we go for a ride? And I already know that this ride might lead to conversation, and I just allow it to happen. I don't foster it, I allow it to happen. And I think that's important too.
Mhm. I love where you said, let them be. Just let
Yes,
them be without
yes,
criticism, without any censoring.
yes,
And
yes. It's power.
that is
Yeah,
amazing. And it's
yes.
wonderful that you've done that his whole life.
Hmm.
I don't think,
Yes.
I know I didn't do that. So, and I think we sat down to eat Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's it. So it was always eating on the go, eating in the car. Just, I'm thinking like, gosh. So at 20 and 23, there's a huge opportunity for
Yeah,
improvement here with
yeah.
me, with my relationship with my children. I think it's
Yes,
always an opportunity to make some choices that are different. And I do
absolutely.
think letting them be. And the young lady that was with us last Sunday, she shared some beautiful tips similar to what you're saying
Hmm.
around, sharing how much we love our children
Hmm.
without any attached expectations.
Yes,
And
yes,
just saying, I love you. I'm proud of
yes,
you. I'm proud you're my
yes,
sons,
yes,
without anything else
yes,
was powerful.
yes. I
Yeah,
love
someone
that
says
too.
allow. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I think a lot of times we attach love to performance, and
Yes.
we have all these expectations,
Hmm.
and our kids just want to be kids. And they want to just
Yes.
be. They want to just be themselves, just be.
Yes.
Kids, adults, all of us. We
Hmm.
really all just want to be ourselves without
Yes.
judgment and criticism. So I
Yes.
love that answer to
Yes.
Vicky's question. That was powerful.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
excited to share, because I think that as a village, we have to share nuggets that just help us
Yes.
um, to fill our treasure chest.
Yes. And to teach us it's never too late either. And I love, again, that word hope.
Yes.
There's hope. That's why we come on this call every Sunday.
Yes.
Um, we provide hope to one another. We hear
Yes.
stories like yours, and we say, yes, I can walk away with
Hmm.
nothing. It's
Hmm.
okay. And I can start over because I know God is
Absolutely.
by my side and it's going to give me everything I really need.
Yes.
And that's it. And so I love that. I love your nuggets of hope, of peace,
Mhm.
chasing peace.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you found that it's all over your face. I mean, really, I'm not just saying that. It's just
Oh,
coming out of your pores. It's beautiful
wow.
to witness
Wow. Thank
your
you for that.
testimony. Hmm.
Thank you for that. I had to work, at it, Kelly, because you know that the world is not full of fairy tales and
That's right.
sprinkles of that fairy tale dust. And so I think
Hmm.
it's just a matter of making a decision every day to stay committed to myself, to stay committed
Yes.
to what I believe, what I would like to have in my life, and what I want to surround myself with. And it was hard. Friends will fall off, relationships, all of those things could fall off, but you never regret choosing yourself. You never regret choosing yourself because you have to live with you, right? And so
That's right.
even, and that's what I tried to model even for my son, And one other nugget I wanted to give too was even with family trips, I want to give this to parents on here, even of older children. When they're younger,
Yes.
you absolutely choose the trips that you take. Allow them to be a part of the plan. Where would you like to go? But make sure that it's something that you're doing with your child where it's just you and them, and allow that to be something that they choose, even if oh my goodness, I don't want to do this, but just to be in their space. Um,
I
that is
love
another
that.
nugget that I've used. Yeah.
Well,
And
I never gave my children a choice for anything. Not what they ate, not what they watched. I'm just thinking about like the control factor was
yes.
so high that
Hmm.
I'm like vacation choice? No, it's like this is what we're doing. So I
Right.
love that you give
Yeah.
choices. I think,
Yes.
and I'm thinking about how to apply that with
Yeah.
adult children. Like, how
Hmm.
does that work exactly? I'm just,
Right. So,
even now, I'm like, this is what we're doing for Thanksgiving. And
right, right.
so this is where I'm going to be. Would you like to come?
Oh my
No, I guess
goodness.
that's a question.
Yes. And that's hard. And I mean, we faced that just recently. It's funny you say that. We are going through that right now in our house. And I'm thinking, oh, I really don't want to. But if I want to be with my son, I understand he's letting me know what is good for his mental health. And
Mm,
sometimes what's good for his mental health is not necessarily being around certain people. So that may look different, right? It may not be the family we're born into, but the family that we've chosen. And whatever is
mm,
good for him, whatever's good for him to surround himself with is what I commit to, because his peace is also my priority.
oh,
Yeah.
that's fabulous. Yours is
Yeah.
first priority, but a second, close second is his piece. And
Absolutely.
you choose, that's almost like an accommodation as well, because you're making choices based on your piece and his piece.
Yes.
That is wonderful
Absolutely.
and a very
Absolutely.
different paradigm.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's really, I'm just sitting here processing that because that is a wonderful way to live life
Yeah.
where your piece is the priority and your
Yes.
child is also a priority, but
Absolutely.
the second
Yes.
priority, close second.
Yes. Right. Close second. And you know why,
Mm,
Kelly? Because if I
mm,
am not prioritizing my peace, then I can't foster and cultivate that in him. So if
right.
I'm a mess, right, then how
Mm-hmm,
can I cultivate something different in him? I need to
mm-hmm.
model that for him, right? Just like we do with children who have autism, right? It's the modeling. It's the model that we use to
Yes.
teach strategies to children that are autistic. We model behavior. And so modeling that for him allows him to then see the benefit of my choice, right? So
Yes.
he's seeing me walk this out. He's seeing it. He knows the story. So he's seeing me walk this thing out for him. And that is the best example that you can give. So they don't have to
Mm,
go outside all the time to find something to look up to connect to. They can see in you, and then they understand that they're a priority for you and their peace, their sanity. Because there are a lot of things on the outside that can come and challenge them. But when we teach that
mhm.
fundamental principle in the
Yes, I
house,
think
home, and in their hearts,
yes,
we
I think so.
understand that that's something that's going to take it a lot, take them a lot
Kalita,
further.
actually, he likes this.
That's right. I agree. I just muted the person that was,
Oh,
they
that's
didn't
okay.
realize they were
Oh, I
off
thought
mute.
they were trying to say.
No, I thought they were about to ask a question too, but all
Yeah.
good. Someone just put a nice note that says, yes, you have to make a conscious effort with adult
Yes.
children too. I had to make that adjustment also.
Yeah.
You could suggest what to initiate and then
Mhm.
let them add the where and how. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes, I love that. I
I'm
love
going to
that.
do that. I
Yes.
think that's really, really, really great. And let them have choices.
Yes. I
And
love
with the
that.
suggestions, like a gentle suggestion.
Mhm.
And again, having your piece as a priority and your child's piece as second priority
Mhm.
is so deep.
Yes.
And it's interesting also. I'm dealing with some caregiving
Ah.
love right now for my mom. And ironically, Corey Minor Smith is popping on, and she was here months ago. Hi, Corey, talking about being in the sandwich generation, where
Ah.
we often are taking care of our kids and also our parents
Mhm.
because we're an adult once and kids
Yes.
twice, as people sometimes say.
Right.
And I was thinking about how you saying, Diane, my peace is my priority. My
Mhm.
child's peace is my second priority. But
Yes.
with the loved one, a mom or a
Mhm.
dad,
Mhm.
their piece is also a priority if you're in caregiving
Absolutely.
mode. So you have
Yes.
these conscious choices of helping people find peace. And what
Yes.
does peace look like? It feels,
Yes.
you know, like the word peace. What does that look like
Yes.
for ourselves, for our children,
Yes.
for our elderly loved ones?
Yes.
And creating that space actively and consciously does everybody good.
It really does. And we share that in common as well,
Mm.
Kelly,
Oh,
because I'm caregiver to my dad. I'm in Pennsylvania, he's in Augusta, Georgia.
wow.
After my mother um, left us in 5 years ago. So I will tell you,
Okay.
my peace was challenged then. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't want
Yeah.
anyone to think that this has been just such a ride of
Right.
just it's been with ease and flow. It had not been
Right.
because my mother's transition was absolutely unexpected, and
Sorry.
her life was taken in a rehabilitation center. And so that was very hard to process. So even within that, and that was
Oh my
5 years
God.
ago. And so
Hmm.
even within that, I would say I still had to, for a while there, it was a challenge. And so I would love, I'm so glad you brought that up because it threw me into caregiving for my father. And so you're so right. It's very hard at times, I will say, and very challenging when the role is getting reversed. And if you think about it, there was never a blueprint for this. There was never a blueprint for when the
That's
child
correct.
becomes the parent.
Hmm.
And that has been a growing space for me. I have definitely grown in grace and love, and again, um, just having to maintain my peace because our parents deserve it, right?
They do. And I love that too, because I feel the exact same way. It's a
Mm-hmm,
journey of grace and
mm-hmm.
patience
Right.
and learning to, of course, be still loving and
Yes.
caring and
Yes.
respectful as a
Yes.
parent
Yes.
and how we were raised. And
Yes.
the journey to give grace and to give patience is a
Yes.
gift.
Yes, it
And
is.
it's a really, and it's challenging when we see a parent changing right before our eyes,
Yes.
so dramatically. It's scary for them too.
Mm-hmm.
And so the gift of peace, I love that. That's going to stick with me today. It's like, how do we create peace
Yeah.
in our lives in all areas of our life? And
Yes.
I love that. So I can't believe the time has flown by. It looks like there's a question also, even
Okay.
now, there's a comment, even now with my adult children, I think this says, let me see. With my adult boys, 20 and 23, I had to train myself to be quiet. It's hard, quiet when they
Mm.
talk and just listen without offering advice and waiting for them to ask, what do you think? This
Ah,
changes the community and makes it easier versus them saying, you think you know everything. So training
oh,
yourself to just listen.
yes. It's
That's very
hard.
true. It's very hard. When they're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. What the?
Right.
You can't say that. You have to say, Okay.
It's so
Well, if
true.
that's what you want to do, all
Yes,
right.
it's
Because at
so
times
true.
it's like, this is really ridiculous, but you can't say that. It's like,
Yes,
okay. So
yes,
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Listening,
yes, yes. Listening is
listening,
key and your
listening,
treasure.
listening. Yes.
That's your secret weapon for the
Yeah.
parents who
Somebody
are on
said here
here.
once, listen and silent have the same letters. You can't listen without being silent. It's a
Mm,
beautiful thought. Just be silent,
yes.
be quiet. And that's peace in and of
Mhm.
itself.
Yes.
And it
Yes, it
gives them
is.
space to talk.
Yes. Yes. Because you can't hear what's on their mind if we're talking the most of the
That's right.
time. And
That's
and
right.
and so we want to hear what's on their mind. And so reminding yourself that I need to know what's inside, what's going on in there. So,
Right.
just reminding yourself of that. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. So, net of all of this, create space for communication,
Yes.
lean into peace, peace
Lean in.
and hope and
Yes.
joy, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
love it. Thank you
Yes.
so much for your incredible time today. I'm going to turn over to
Oh,
Dr. Vicky, who's going to close
okay.
us out
All
in a
right.
prayer. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you again, Diane. Thank you,
Thank
Kelly
you.
and Dee. And to our community, thank you for joining us again today. God, we thank you for this day that you have given to us. And we choose to rejoice and give you glory. Thank you for the opportunity to sit in community and to share wisdom, to share insight, to explore ways to have more peace, love, and joy in our lives. Thank you for Diane and the work that she does, for the example of her work, for the example of her parenting, for the example of her testimony and journey. We just give you glory and grace for it. Thank you for blessing her in the work that she does every day with families as an early intervention strategist. Thank you for Kelly and Dee and the SonRise Project family, and for this safe space that we can come every week and just exhale. We honor you, we thank you, we praise you, and ask that you bring us back together again on next Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern to share more wisdom and insight as we grow forward as parents and as a community, and as we help our children to grow up in the way that you would have them to go, so that when they are older and they become parents, they will remember that we did the best we could with what we had. And we give you glory for it. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for that. And everybody have an incredible day. We'll be back next week at 9, as Dr. Vicky said. Thank you again, Diane. You were
Oh, you're
incredible.
very
Are
welcome.
incredible.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. Have a good day.
Bye bye, everyone. Have a good day.